Hey guys, I'm back with another video. This one's going to be pretty different, so if these aren't your types of videos, then feel free to click out. I'll see you guys on the next one. But really what I wanted to do was get in touch with you guys kind of beneath the surface a bit. It's not going to be about makeup. It's more going to be about something that I'm personally struggling with, and maybe some of you guys are as well. It's pretty difficult for me to talk and open up about this situation just because it puts me at such a vulnerable, personal space. Like, where do I even begin? Okay, well, I have been suffering with anxiety and depression for over 10 years. And just within the last year or two, a lot of that mental struggle has converted into OCD. Oh my gosh, why is my phone ringing? Anyway, sorry about that interruption. So, yeah, as I was saying, it's not that uncommon for people with anxiety to develop OCD or for it to happen vice versa, OCD into anxiety. Sometimes it's just paired together, and that's just the way it is. I have personally done a lot more research on anxiety because I've had 10 years to deal with it. For the first few years of that, I didn't know that I was actually struggling with anxiety. The concept of mental illnesses besides depression was really foreign to me. And depression I knew was present in my family's life. Like, I know that my dad suffered with it. I didn't know how many different conditions there were really at that age, and it wasn't something that we spoke a lot about in high school. You know, teachers didn't really put much emphasis on it. I really feel that all school boards everywhere in the world should actually talk about it and make it a part of the curriculum at some point, one way or another. You know, it's just such an important topic, and there's such a big stigma around it still, even though it's 2017 now. And that just shows that people are really, really unaware, and it's something that maybe they've never really discussed in their life, never really had to, because maybe people in their own personal lives are not affected by it and they don't know anybody going through it. But beneath the surface, beneath the front that we put up when we go out in public, not in terms of like your personality, like I'm putting up a front, I'm trying to act a certain way to like impress you, no. In terms of just trying to be a functional human being, getting up, going to work, going to school, and acting like you've got it all under control. That's the type of front that I'm talking about. A lot of people with depression and other mental illnesses will have to play that up, and they'll have to act like, you know, I'm this type of person and I've got everything under control, but really when you're behind closed doors and when no one's around, you suffer with these conditions to a point where it's just so hard to talk about, and you're so affected by it that it just affects the entire direction of your life. I have looked worse than this within the last few days. Like, my hair wasn't washed, I looked like a mess, and that's just kind of how I get when I'm at home. And sometimes it's just hard to actually care about my appearance that much, but this is the most that I'm going to try today. A lot of audiences of YouTubers wonder, why is it that so many YouTubers have depression or anxiety? And they think YouTubers are just putting it in their videos for the sake of saying it so that they can be relatable to others. Like, no. Like I said, it affects the direction of your life. And that might just be why, like, this is my theory, that might just be why so many YouTubers have depression, because they probably already had it before they started YouTube. Do you know what I'm saying? YouTube gives someone the flexibility of creating their own brand within their own time, within their own schedule, and in their very own house. They don't have to step out anywhere, they don't have to go anywhere. Not all the time. I mean, if you're somebody who works on sets and stuff like that, then that's understandable. But for the most part, lifestyle bloggers, beauty bloggers, stuff like that, YouTubers like that, they're in their home and they have offices in their homes. So it makes it easy for them to kind of work for themselves. Because when you do suffer with mental disorders, it's hard to work under other people. People create a schedule and you have to follow it. And if for some reason you can't make it in, you're screwing your whole entire workplace over. If you can't get someone to cover your shift, you're screwing up the whole entire day for people at work, because they'll be understaffed, and then they're gonna be so resentful towards you about it, like, whoa, she didn't show up, she called in sick, blah blah blah. That's actually happened to me in the past when there's going to be a lot of cutscenes because I can't freaking talk right now, but when mental disorders weren't really talked about, like as talked about as they are right now. And I'm so proud of how far we've come in terms of that, in terms of raising awareness and just being really open about it. I think it's so important, and I hope that we continue to do that in even more ways than we are right now. But back then, it wasn't something people really understood. And that was one of the highest points of my anxiety that I had to deal with. At that point, it was anxiety and panic disorder. And I really couldn't talk about it for a long time. Like, even when I would talk about it to other people, I would start experiencing it. Just those words alone would put me in such a place that I couldn't do it. I really could not. So it's taken me so long to even come in front of the camera and be so thorough and in depth about this topic, because it's taken so long for me to overcome the idea of even just talking about it. So yeah, back then when I was working, it was the highest point of my anxiety. My grandma had just passed away, and I was going in and out of emergency rooms, you know, with my anxiety, not being able to breathe, having wires attached to my heart, just crying in the waiting room, hyperventilating. People around me were just staring at me, you know, because if you can imagine a waiting room in a hospital, everyone's been there for hours. They're just so tired and quiet and sick, and I'm like there just having a fit. Like, it was really horrible. And if I can even begin to describe how you feel when you're when you're under one of those attacks, it's hard to imagine if you haven't ever experienced it in your life. But a lot of people who do describe their experiences with it, with anxiety, is that they feel like they're stuck in their own bodies. And I don't even want to go into it because it's just so uncomfortable for me. But basically, what happens during that time is that your adrenaline kicks up, right? And you go into this fight or flight mode. Now, with fight or flight, biologically, like way back in the day, that's what we would use when, I guess, we're like hunting for food and we're in danger perhaps of being attacked. So we run. We just flee the situation because it's too dangerous for us. And that's just our mechanism. That's how we survive. And in this very day and age, we don't necessarily always hunt for our food, do we? But that's just kind of embedded in our systems. And that fight or flight basically is us, our bodies, reacting as if we're in immediate danger and we need to get the hell out of that situation now, run for it, go, get out of here. And then you're not in any, you could be like lying in your bed or in your room or like watching something funny. It could just happen at any moment, not necessarily triggered by a particular thought. But yeah, it just happens, and then you're like, what the fuck is happening to my body? Like, what is happening right now? It's just so much adrenaline, and you can't bring it down because you're at that point of no return. And you start to panic then because you don't know what's happening to you. You're like, oh, am I going to have a heart attack? What's happening to me? You know, you really don't know what's happening to your body. And it's a really scary place to be. A lot of people describe it as they feel as if they're going to die in that moment. They feel as if something's so wrong within their body that they might just pass away at that moment. And I had to deal with that for so long until I finally went to counseling for it. So my camera just shut off. I had to miss 3 months of work because even my manager at that point knew something was wrong. She knew something was up with me. She's like, what's happening? Are you just unhappy here? What's happening with you? And I explained it to her. So I took 3 months off to do counseling. For that 3 months, I couldn't leave the house by myself. Could not. I would freak out and start panicking when I got to the front door. It was really hard. And I had to go to counseling, and the counselor had to do exposure therapy with me, in which she brought me outside and to public transit and stuff like that, because that's how I would get around at that time. And you know, we would do therapy inside a train, for example, and she would tell me to rate my anxiety, be like, how anxious are you feeling right now? What's the situation like for you? And we just kept doing that over and over until it became a little bit more normal for me. Until I was kind of used to being outside again. At that point, people were talking so much shit about me at work. And it's like, all is forgiven, it's in the past. I just know of a few people who were saying things. But, and I still really, really appreciate the presence of these people in my life. Like, no shade to you guys whatsoever. I know it's a long time ago and people grow and, you know, things change. But back then, it was just really tough because no one understood. Nobody understood. Everyone was like, she's faking it. She's lying. She's using it as an excuse not to come to work. She won't take my shifts when I need her to, but I'm always taking hers. I'm telling you, I could barely function. I don't know. It was really, really tough, and it's really heavy for me to even talk about this right now. It's going to be heavy for me to edit this as well, but I think it's something that I need to put out there. If I'm playing with my hair too much, it's probably because I'm just really, really uncomfortable talking about this. But I think, again, it's really important for me to talk about this because one of you guys could be going through this right now and you just haven't told anyone and you don't know how to bring it up and how to get help for it. It was a long, long process for me. I had to do a lot of researching on my own because I did try to take medication for it, had a bad reaction, was sent to the emergency in the middle of the night, couldn't breathe, could barely stand up. I was all cold, was really pale, and it was just one of the most horrible experiences of my life, and it was because I had such a bad reaction to that medication. And since that reaction, I have been so OCD about any type of pill. It doesn't matter if it's a vitamin, it doesn't matter if it's Tylenol. As illogical as it is, as irrational as it is, it doesn't matter. Like, I cannot take pills. I can't. And it's basically classified as a trauma, like a sort of traumatic experience because of how severe my reaction was. But yeah, I haven't been able to bring myself to take medication. So as you can imagine, I'm going through this anxiety and panic disorder and for almost a decade, and I have no option of trying to medically deal with it. Medication doesn't cure it. It basically, to me, it masks the effects of your illness, right? It'll dissipate all of the symptoms for that period of time, but it doesn't fix the problem. It doesn't get to the root cause of why it's still happening. And that's why people just keep taking medication over and over for years. And that's fine because some people, they actually need it to survive, to live, right? They need it or else their body just can't function. And to me, I was stuck in between that place of, I know I need this, but then I can't take it. And I'm trying to function, but I can't. So that's why people are so surprised when I tell them that this is something that I've been suffering with, because they see me as this functional person. But then really I deal with all this stuff behind the scenes. And that's, you know, it's gotten easier for sure. And I told myself I'm not going to cry in this video, even though it's a really, really touchy subject. But I just know the struggle. I know the struggle. If you're going through this right now, if you're somebody who's dealing with anxiety, OCD, depression, you know, any mental illness really, I know what you're going through. Please believe me that I know. On days where you physically can't get out of bed, on days when you physically can't leave your house and you know that you have to because life goes on regardless of what you're suffering with. I get how difficult it can be to just even do that, to do simple tasks that everyone else in the world can do. You know, everyone else in the world who's not suffering with some sort of illness. So yeah, that's what I was dealing with, and I was constantly looking for natural solutions to kind of combat my anxiety and create tools for myself. I ended up doing a lot of breathing exercises, guided imagery, where I slow my thoughts down, and it's sort of like a meditative process. What else do I do? I eliminate a lot of foods and beverages from my diet. I've completely cut off alcohol. I haven't ever been drunk for at least 8 years because my counselor told me that people with anxiety shouldn't have caffeine, shouldn't have alcohol, shouldn't have a lot of sugars, right? So those were the things that I was really, really adamant about throughout the years. I literally cut caffeine out of my diet completely, because once I got so jittery after just like having a small coffee that it sparked some anxiety for me. I've cut out alcohol. A lot of my friends know that I don't drink, and this is precisely the reason why. Everything that my counselor told me that I should cut out of my diet, I did, because I so desperately wanted to get better. I just wanted to function again like a normal human being, you know? And me saying normal is, I guess, what is normal anyways? You know, everyone has something that they struggle with, whether it's mental disorders or not. But normal in terms of just contributing to society with working full time and providing for those around you, helping those around you. And that's always something that I struggle with, because I so desperately want to make my own living. I want to do good for myself. I want to succeed. I want to see myself and those around me who I love thrive. And when you're suffering with mental disorders, you feel as if you're just bringing everyone down, because everyone has to support you, because everyone has to take care of you. And I fight so hard to be able to take care of myself, even though it's so difficult. My SD card just got full, so that's that. So yeah, after years and years of trying to combat all of this naturally through diet, through certain natural forms of medication and stress relief, after a lot of emergency visits, doctors would prescribe me medication for anxiety. And I would buy them, right? Just in case I would ever panic again. But I would never take them. Ever. Never touch them. They would just sit in my drawer, expire over the years. Just never touch them. Because I couldn't bring myself to do it. And it's crazy. Maybe that's the wrong word to use, but really it is. Because you feel like you're going crazy. And you're so irrational. And your thought process is just all haywire. And you know it, but there's nothing that you can do sometimes. It's just something that you have to accept and go through, and that's really, really important. I think what really helped me get past my heightened anxiety and my intense anxiety was that I finally accepted that it was happening to me. I never wanted to accept it because I felt that it made me too different. I felt that it made me not belong. I felt that no one understood what it was. But that was just prolonging me getting over it, and that was prolonging me coping with it. I wanted so hard to fight it, and so hard to just be like, this isn't happening to me, this isn't who I am, this isn't what I'm going through. And it did nothing for me. It would just make things worse. So when I finally told myself, accept it, accept that this is happening to you, when it's coming and when you're going through it at that very moment, accept it. And just know that you've gone through this before, it's going to pass, and it's not going to be like this forever. I went to I'm still going to a really intensive school, and that's why it's taking me so long, because I've been dealing with this the whole entire time. So I'm not really going full speed like a lot of other people, but regardless, I'm still getting through it. I showed myself that I'm capable of so much as long as I put my mind to it and I work hard and I commit myself to it, regardless of what I'm struggling with. I can do it. I have dedicated myself, even though there are a lot of circumstances that make it hard to do that. I just pushed through it, and I ended up getting a small scholarship, which I had to go through this whole process of getting nominated, and they narrowed it down, and I was in the top 2 that won. And I've basically maintained an average where it shows that I have distinction on the certificate or whatever paper comes at the end of. Can I get that paper ready? Damn, like it's been so long. But yeah, basically it just shows Jessel graduated from so-and-so with distinction, because I've maintained a high average, and I've really had to commit myself and put in the time to do that. you know, despite what I'm going through. I pride myself in that because I'm showing myself that I can do it and I can be just as good as anybody out there, even with what I'm going through. And so many people don't understand it. You know, throughout the years, I've told my classmates, because I'm around a lot of people at school for a lot of my classes, I have to be in groups. And some people really do understand. I've never had any problems until last semester where this whole situation happened. And, you know, I was getting really, really OCD at that point. Like my OCD was flaring up really bad. I was just stressed out, not only from school, but from everything else, like a lot of other things that people just don't know about. You know, I'm just stressed. And my group member said something so atrocious to me. At this day and age, in our age group especially, where we're supposed to be young, innovative, and just so understanding and open and accepting with one another, this person said, well, maybe you should take pills or some shit if you stress out that easily, when I mentioned my anxiety and my OCD. I'll maybe put a screenshot in this video, I don't know, but I just wanted to make sure my project was done because it was due the next morning. They left it so last minute. And, you know, I was like, okay, take a breath. Don't fucking go and clap back at this girl right now because you need to get this shit done. The next day after we've handed everything in, I wrote this whole long paragraph and I basically explained to her, you know, what you said wasn't really appropriate, it wasn't right, it was really rude, disrespectful. I don't need that from you. For you to tell me and try to give me advice as if you're a doctor, that's not your place. It's really, really not your fucking place. Like, know your place before you say something. Know your place, that's all I have to say. If you're not suffering with something, don't ever try to talk to somebody who has a mental disorder and tell them they're faking it, they should do this and that. Like, out of the whole 10 years that I have had in my life of dealing with this, do you think I've never tried to see doctors, take medication, go to therapy? Like, I have tried all of that and more. So it's just so rude when somebody literally comes at you and tries to say things like that. It's beyond appalling, like, just... And I realize it's probably because the maturity level of these girls is just not there yet. They just haven't gone through enough in life to really know how to be compassionate and considerate when dealing with someone and with dealing with certain situations. Regardless of the reason, I just don't think it's ever right to talk negatively to people about an illness that they have. OCD, anxiety, depression makes you feel exhausted. So exhausted. Like, you have no energy for anything. Your mind is working overtime all the time. All the time. Since I woke up this morning, I've probably washed my hands and washed the cup that I've been drinking out of easily more than 10 times each. Easily. My hands are so dry right now. Like, I have mad eczema on both hands. And it's not even beneficial to wash your hands over and over because you kill the good bacteria in your hands. But I can't stop doing it. I just can't. I need to do it to get through the day. I need to do it to be able to function. That's how I feel. Like, it's so weird and it's just so upsetting sometimes because I know that it's absolutely irrational, but I keep doing it anyway. This whole entire process it takes over your life sometimes, and it defines how your day goes. You can't go to places until you complete certain rituals, until you do certain things, and you finally feel okay enough. It's so exhausting. It really is. And OCD is not just about being organized and being color-coded and wanting things to look a certain way. It is so much more than that. So much. It's gone so deep at this point with my OCD. It's something I've never experienced before. So I'm in this weird transitional phase in my life where I'm now trying to deal with a whole new sort of problem. And it's affecting my relationship with my fiance to a point where he also has to abide by these rituals. And I feel so guilty for it, and I hate putting him through it. But he's so down to help all the time, and he's so understanding and giving and loyal, and he just does everything that I need him to do for me to function. And that's a lot of pressure on somebody. If you're ever thinking of getting with someone with a mental illness and you know, or they develop it in your relationship, just know that you have to have so much patience to deal with that, because that illness becomes a part of your life. That illness becomes something that you have to tend to and take care of, and that's just the way it goes in a relationship like that. So if you're not ready to commit to somebody to that extent, if you really don't care about them enough to be by their side through all of their attacks and all of their rituals, don't do it, because it's just not fair to the both of you. That's what I have to say. It's really difficult. And I wish I didn't have to put him through it, but it happens. And if I could say one thing right now, like from the bottom of my heart, if you're one of these people who's suffering with a mental disorder, I love you. I do. I don't know you, I haven't met you, but I truly do love you. When you feel like no one else in the world understands, just know that there's somebody who understands. I get it. I live through this every single day, and I understand it. And I have so much love for you, for getting yourself through the day every day, for just trying to get through life. You really have to try and be in a positive environment when you're dealing with this, because sometimes you can be so down on yourself and you just feel so negative about the things that you're going through. So that's why it's so important to be in a positive environment and to surround yourself with positive people who will uplift you and guide you and help you. You guys can help each other, that's what you need. And I'm so lucky that I have that. So lucky. So blessed. With you guys, with my family, with my fiance, with my friends. I am just in such a blessed place. And I'm ever so grateful and thankful. Truly, I am. And the fact that I know that some people suffer through this and they don't have that support system, and they end up taking their lives because they're depressed, because they have anxiety, because they suffer with a whole bunch of stuff. I know how difficult it can be, and I wish it didn't have to happen that way. I wish that people could get themselves through it, but sometimes it's just too much for some people, and I'm not saying that I'm at that place, because I just feel like I have so much to live for. I do, and I want to achieve things in my life, and I want to help everyone and pay everyone back who's helped me, not in terms of just money, but in terms of how much they've helped me grow as a person, that they've guided me through this life. I owe it to them to get through what I'm going through. I owe it to them, and I need to do it. And that's just how I feel. And some people feel like they don't have anything to live for. So that's why I feel very strongly in being kind to others, because you don't know what they're going through behind closed doors. You really don't. If you have nothing good to say, just don't say it. Another thing is accept help. If you need it, accept it, because ultimately it's what's going to allow you to break free of what you're currently going through. I know it's really, really hard to accept help sometimes. Sometimes your pride gets in the way and you think that you can do this on your own, but sometimes you can't. And that's okay. And it's okay to reach out to other people. In times of stress, we need to reach out to other people and connect with other people. That is so important. I think of it as like my fiance's fish tanks, for example. They usually travel into school, all of the fish, and if one is sick, they shift off and they leave the whole school of fish and they go into a corner alone. They darken up, their colors are gone, and they become so sick they don't want to travel with the pack anymore, or the school, and then they just eventually die. And it's, sometimes some people are just too sick, and I don't know. That's just kind of how I've interpreted it, is that when I isolated myself so much, I wasn't getting any better. When I didn't accept myself and didn't accept that this was a part of me, I wasn't moving forward. But as soon as I opened up to people and was honest, as soon as I reached out to people and told them this is what I'm going through, I want to get through it. As soon as I allowed and accepted help, I began to flourish a lot more. It's difficult, it's never easy, it's never perfect. It's never the way you want it to be. But nevertheless, you move forward, and that's what matters. When those school of fish, when those sick fish spend some time alone. That's fine, that's normal. If you're sick, you spend some time alone. Eventually, just go back into that group. Be around people again. Surround yourself with people again. When I see certain fish that like go back into the school, they become, they start to heal. And it's actually so fascinating to see. They literally start to get better. Their colors start to come back. They're swimming all over again. Like, I don't know, that's just kind of how I see it with animals and with ourselves as humans. Like, we need to be in a group. We need to surround ourselves with people, and to isolate ourselves from people never helps. So yeah, that's basically what I want to say to you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I know that this was a really lengthy video. Probably going to be some cutscenes throughout because I really can't talk right now. I keep like slurring my words or stuttering, and it's just a really touchy subject. But yeah, I just thought it was really important to talk to you guys about this, get in touch with you guys, and really talk about something that's been affecting me. And I know that it's affecting a lot of others out there who don't necessarily feel that they can voice that. So I want to help voice that. And I want to help you know that you're not alone in this, and that other people know exactly what you're going through, and that you're worth so much more than you think you are. So just know that people love you, and you should always accept yourself as you are and love yourself as you are, because that's what's going to help you get through this. So I know I've kind of said the same things over and over throughout, but yeah, I just want to reiterate that and let you know that I have so much love for you. I really do. So yeah, leave me some comments below about your personal experiences, either your own, you don't have to. I know it's really personal, but like any sort of just little story that you might have pertaining to this subject, or experiences that you know of, or other people in your life that have had these experiences, share your stories with me and I'll get back to all of you guys. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I just love you. See you guys on my next video.
I wanna live with you, even when we're ghosts, 'cause you were always there for me when I needed you most. I'm gonna